I know there are truths that once revealed change the way you look at your family forever. But I never thought that day would come like this, cold, sudden, and without a single warning. It wasn't some formal conversation, nor a heated argument, just a moment of opening the wrong folder. And from that second on, I was no longer their daughter. At least not in the way I once believed. My name is Harper. I'm 31 years old, living and working in Denver, Colorado. I'm a financial specialist at a small investment firm. Not wealthy, but comfortable enough to support myself and help my parents when they need it. I'm the eldest of two siblings. My younger brother Mason is 24, still living at home, and has never held a job for more than 6 months. I've never seen myself as special, just the reliable one. The one people call when the washing machine breaks, when bills are overdue, or when they need emergency cash. Every month, I've wired a few $100s home to help my parents pay off the mortgage on their house in the Fort Collins suburbs. I didn't mind. Honestly, I used to feel good about helping them. Or at least, I used to. That Saturday started out like any other. I drove to my parents' house to help Dad organize some property documents. He said there were a few legal papers that needed signing, and as usual I was the only one who knew how to sort everything neatly and properly. My dad isn't tech-savvy, and Mom usually ignores anything financial. They've always relied on me, and I, out of habit, never said no. I sat at the dining table, facing a stack of papers almost as tall as the vase beside it. While separating the documents to scan, I accidentally pulled out a black folder. The label read clearly in white, Estate Plan and Last Will and Testament. Anderson family. I'm not a nosy person, really. But after 8 years of financial support, paying to fix the roof last winter, and even covering my mom's car insurance, a question stirred inside me. Had they ever considered me in their long-term plans? I opened the folder, not in haste, not carelessly, almost trembling. The first few lines froze me in place. Everything, the house, the savings accounts, the shares in my dad's company, was left to Mason, only Mason. Me? Just a few brief lines. We love both our children and believe Harper will continue to succeed in life. My heart pounded in my chest, my hands turned cold. Memories rushed back, canceling my vacation to send them money, skipping dates to drive 3 hours home and fix a leaky faucet. It felt like I'd just been slapped, only not by a hand, but by the cruelty of truth. I don't know how long I sat there, only that I heard Dad calling from the other room. Harper, how's it going? I didn't respond right away. I just kept staring at the signatures at the bottom of the will. My parents' handwriting, right beneath the words declaring Mason as the sole heir. I stood up, took the folder into the living room where Dad was sipping coffee. He looked up, a little surprised by the expression on my face. I held the folder up, my voice eerily calm. Is this everything I need to know, Dad? His eyes changed, a flicker of confusion, then that familiar, evasive look. Harper, it's not what you think. I cut him off. Not what I think? Then what does leave everything to Mason mean, if not exactly what I think? No response, just a heavy, suffocating silence. I thank my husband for his steady hand, emphasized big holes like eggs. I felt hollow, some part of me, some part that still believed family love was fair, died in that moment. I sat across from my dad, my eyes fixed on the will lying on the table. He looked at me, then down at his now cold coffee. The room was suffocatingly silent, the only sound being the ticking clock, echoing like my heartbeat pounding in my chest. I spoke first, my voice no longer soft like it used to be. So, this is what you and Mom have been planning all along? Treating me like an outsider? Dad didn't look at me, he just wet his lips and quietly replied, "You're overreacting, Harper. You don't need those things." I let out a twisted laugh like I'd just heard the punchline of a cruel joke. Don't need it? So all these years I broke my back supporting this family meant nothing? At that moment, Mom walked in from the kitchen, still holding a dish towel. She froze when she saw the tension between me and Dad. Then her eyes landed on the folder. Her expression, confused and afraid, said it all. "Harper, sweetie," she started, her voice as soft as the breeze through a cracked window. "We didn't mean to hurt you, but Mason, he's not like you. He needs support." I stared at her, stunned by her words. "And what about me? I don't need anything? What am I to you? Some kind of robot programmed to transfer money on time?" Mom glanced helplessly at Dad, searching for help. Meanwhile, something inside me cracked open. I gave up so much for this family. My first vacation after 4 years of working, skipped it. The chance to move to Boston for a department head position, gave that up too. Why? To stay close, to take care of you, to be there every time Mason lost another job or messed up again, so I could patch everything back together. Mason appeared right then, yawning, still in old sweatpants, hair a mess. Seeing the tension in the room, he raised an eyebrow. "What's going on? Why does everyone look so tense?" I stood up abruptly, pointing straight at him. "What's going on? You're about to inherit everything without lifting a damn finger. That's what. I just found out you're getting it all in the will. That's what's going on." Mason scoffed like I was being ridiculous. "Geez, you act like someone just took your life away, Harper. It's just paperwork." "Paperwork?" I clenched my fists. "That paperwork is everything our parents own. The house I've been helping pay for every month. The accounts I've dumped money into when they were struggling. And you lie around on the couch all day complaining about pressure." Dad stood up, snapping. "That's enough. Harper, this isn't how you talk to family." I turned to him, my eyes like ice. "Oh really? And how would you prefer I talk? Pretend everything's fine? Like I wasn't just cut out of the very family I've been financially holding together for years?" He sighed, then used that tone, the one that used to silence me as a child. "You're strong, Harper. You've got a good job. Mason? He's still figuring things out. We just want to make sure he doesn't struggle when we're gone." I bit my lip, something tearing inside me. Struggle? And what about me? You think I don't get tired? Have you ever asked if I had enough money? If I was okay taking care of all 3 of you? No one answered. Mason sat back down, like none of this concerned him. Mom stood there, clutching the towel, eyes red, but not a single word of apology. I spoke again, my voice shaky but resolute. "If this is the choice you're making, then I'll make mine too. From this moment on, I'm not sending another dollar. You chose Mason to inherit, so let him start carrying now." Mason jumped up. "What the hell? You're serious? You're cutting us off over a stupid will?" I turned to him, my eyes burning into him. "I'm not cutting anyone off. I'm just done carrying people who don't value me. Family isn't a place where one person gets drained so the other 3 can live comfortably." I turned and walked away, not looking back. Behind me were stunned faces, anger, and maybe, just maybe, a flicker of fear. For the first time in years, it felt like I had finally cut the rope that had been strangling me. Once in my car, I slammed the door shut and sat still for a few seconds. My heart was still pounding, but deep inside there was a strange sense of relief. Maybe I had just lost something. Or maybe I had just reclaimed myself. I drove away from Fort Collins in silence, with only the sound of tires on the road and the wind whistling past the windows. My head spun with their words, glances, sighs, and that dragging, unbearable silence left behind by my parents and Mason. I used to think I was strong enough to handle anything, but I never imagined having to endure my own family. Back at my apartment in Denver, I didn't turn on the lights. I sat quietly in the dark, my phone just as still, as if it knew today wasn't the day to ring. I didn't know whether to be angry, cry, or laugh at how naive I had been to think being good enough would ever be recognized. Days passed. No one called. Not a single text, not an email. And I didn't reach out either. I needed time to breathe, to untangle the storm of emotions building in my head. But that silence didn't last long. The following Tuesday, as I was having lunch at the office, a message from my mom appeared. Mom, Harper, your dad said the roof maintenance bill for this month arrived. Can you pay it like usual? I read that message at least 5 times. As if nothing had happened. As if I was still the one in charge of the family's finances. A dry, bitter laugh escaped my throat. It wasn't pain I felt anymore. It was disgust. I replied, Sorry, from now on, that's Mason's responsibility. Minutes later, my mom called. I saw her name on the screen but didn't answer. She called 2 more times before switching to texts. Mom, what are you doing? You can't just abandon the whole family over something this small. Something this small? I set my phone down on the table, my hands trembling with rage. I didn't reply. That evening, my dad messaged, Dad, Harper, if you don't help, we'll get penalized. This house needs you. For the first time, I didn't feel sad or guilty. I just felt cold. I wrote back, Dad, I am no longer responsible for a house I don't belong to. I hope you and Mom understand. I hit send, then blocked his number. The next morning I received an email from Mason, subject line, Can we talk? The message was short but enough to boil my blood. You're blowing this way out of proportion. You've got a job, money. I don't even have things figured out yet. They just want me to be stable. Why are you being so dramatic? I clicked reply and wrote only one sentence. It's time for you to figure it out on your own. No exclamation mark, no explanation. I hit send and shut my laptop like slamming the final door closed. Thursday, during a meeting, the front desk called to say someone was there to see me. A woman, she says she's your mother. I froze for a few seconds. I couldn't believe they came all the way to my office. I stepped out, and there she was, just as I expected. My mom, looking more worn out than I remembered, clutching her handbag tightly. You didn't answer your phone, so I had to come, she started, her voice trembling. I crossed my arms, trying to stay calm. If you have something to say, make it quick, I'm working. She looked at me, eyes glossy. Harper, you can hate me, but don't be this cold, we're still family. I clenched my fists. The word family from her mouth felt like a stab. Family? Was I family when you cut me out of the will? When I bled myself dry covering repair bills? Did you ever remember you had a daughter named Harper? She stayed silent. Didn't dare respond. I looked straight into her eyes. I'm not your backup plan anymore. Not your walking wallet. If you need someone to lean on, call Mason. He's the one you chose, not me. She let out a choked sob like someone had hit her in the chest. But I didn't step back. I had swallowed too much bitterness and silence. Now it was their turn to listen. I turned and walked back inside, not once looking back, leaving her standing there in front of curious stares from the receptionist and my coworkers. That evening, I opened my laptop and logged into Facebook, a place I had never shared anything personal about my family. But this time I wrote, I've been silent long enough. I was always the child who showed up, who carried the weight, who sacrificed. But when I found out I was erased from the will, I realized, to them, I was just a tool. I won't keep fueling injustice. If family is love, then that love shouldn't only show up when I'm needed to pay the bills. I posted it, shut the computer, and leaned back on the couch. Outside, the night remained dark, but inside me, for the first time in years, there was a flicker of lightness in my heart. I had cut the cord. For real. No looking back. I thought after that post there would be silence, a necessary pause so I could breathe, so everyone could reflect. But I was wrong. Just one day later, everything exploded. I woke up to a flood of Facebook notifications, messages, tags, comments. People I didn't even know started sending advice, criticism, even accusations, all stemming from one post. My mother's. The first image was of me and Mason from my college graduation. Below it was a caption filled with sorrow. Being a mother has never been easy, but I never imagined the day would come when the child I loved the most would turn their back on me, over money. Over 300 shares, nearly 10 likes, and the comments read like an unfair trial. This generation is so selfish. Unbelievable how a daughter could treat her parents like that. Family is about forgiveness, not calculating every penny. I read through them, trying to stay calm. But when I saw Mason's post, I nearly lost it. Not everyone understands the pressure of being the youngest, the expectations, the comparisons. I never wanted it to turn out like this. I just want people to know that I never asked to inherit anything. But my sister, Harper, chose to walk away. I still hope one day we can sit down, like a real family. That fake sanctimonious tone made me want to smash the screen. Pressure? Mason had never dealt with a day of pressure in his life. No rent, no job stress, not once staying up late trying to pay bills. I was the one who handled it all. I stepped out onto the balcony, taking deep breaths. The sun was rising, but all I felt inside was a storm cloud pressing down on my chest. They weren't just attacking me in private. They wanted to smear me, publicly. Make me look like the ungrateful daughter, in front of the entire world. I sat down, opened my laptop, and logged into my personal Facebook account. My hands were shaking, not from fear, but from rage. I had no intention of staying silent anymore. I typed every word, every sentence without deleting or revising. I'm not writing this to argue. I'm writing to tell the truth. I didn't turn my back on my family. They turned their backs on me a long time ago. When they quietly excluded me from every future plan. When they decided that love could be measured by how much money a child could provide. I supported my parents for nearly a decade. I gave up chances to live independently, to rest, to grow. Just so I could be there whenever they needed help. But when I found out that everything was left to Mason, and I wasn't even mentioned beyond a hollow sentence, I realized I wasn't a daughter. I was a walking wallet. I'm not posting this for pity. I'm writing it to remind people that family doesn't mean endless silent sacrifice. Sometimes walking away is the most honest form of self-love. I hit post without hesitation, and immediately everything changed. Messages came pouring in. Strangers thanked me for voicing what they were too afraid to say. Old friends expressed support. But the backlash remained. Cruel words. Judgment from people who didn't know a fraction of the story. And then, as I expected, my father joined the fray. He posted a lengthy status, using flowery but cold language. We are not perfect, but we've done everything for our children, and now, because of one legal decision, our daughter has chosen to disgrace us online. That is not how an adult behaves. Attached was a photo of him and my mother standing in front of the house. The same house I had helped pay off over 3 years. I didn't respond, didn't post anything new, didn't comment. I had said what I needed to say, and I didn't need anyone's permission to live by my values. The next day, I received an email from a distant cousin in Oregon. He wrote, "Harper, my sister went through something just like this. They called her a traitor when she refused to keep carrying everyone's burden. You're not alone. You're brave." I read it over and over. It felt like being pulled out of deep water I'd been drowning in for far too long. Not everyone will understand. But not everyone turns a blind eye to the truth either. Family can be the greatest source of love, but it can also be the deepest wound if love is not met with respect. I've been attacked, misunderstood, and dragged through the mud with venomous words. But I'm still here, still writing, still living. And more than anything, I'm finally becoming myself again. I used to think I'd never sleep soundly again after everything that happened. But then one December morning, I woke up and realized I had slept straight through from midnight until nearly 8. No dreams, no sudden wake-ups, just sunlight pouring through the curtains and an almost unbelievable lightness in my chest. It was the first time in years I didn't start my day worrying about someone else's bills. No stressing over whether Mom needed medicine or if Mason had lost another job. I'd lost count. My phone was silent. No messages calling me back into the role of the responsible daughter. I made myself a hot cup of coffee, stood by the window and looked out at the trees shedding their leaves. In that stillness, I felt peace. Not the kind of peace that's borrowed or forced, but real peace, because I was no longer carrying burdens that weren't mine. I started changing the little things. I canceled the secondary credit card I had issued for my mom. I removed my name from all utility contracts I had signed for my dad. I revoked access to the auto payment account that had been covering Mason's insurance. And I cleared out my apartment. Old folders, transfer receipts, bank statements, I boxed them up and took them to the shredder. As the machine roared to life, it felt like years of being undervalued and used were being shredded one page at a time. I changed my phone number. Not to hide, but to cut ties. Cleanly. I was no longer the Harper I used to be. 3 weeks later, I signed up for a short course on personal finance for independent women. I didn't need it, really, but I wanted to do something for me. Not to prove anything, just to listen to myself. In that class, I met a woman named Clara. She was nearly 50, had gone through a divorce, and was estranged from her children for not splitting her assets equally. The first thing she said to me was, "I didn't lose my family. I lost the illusion of it." We laughed, and I felt myself stepping into a new world. One where the people once labeled selfish were the ones who had truly learned how to love themselves. At the end of January, I drove alone to Estes Park in the mountains. It was a place I had always dreamed of visiting but never dared to, always tied down by some more urgent task. This time, no one called me back halfway. No one needed me to cancel and stay home. I slept in a cabin, read books by the fire, and wrote in a journal. Turns out loving yourself isn't about meditating or wearing face masks. It's learning to say no. Learning to block the people who hurt you. Learning to say no without guilt. I closed the journal and leaned my head against the cabin window. Outside, snow began to fall gently. I thought of my parents, of Mason. I didn't feel angry anymore, just acceptance. They were probably still upset, still venting online, still waiting for the day I'd come to my senses. But I wasn't going back. I didn't need them to understand, I just needed to understand myself. In February, I started a blog, not to complain, but to share the journey of someone who had been drained by family expectations. Each post drew hundreds of readers. People wrote to me, telling their own stories, about being labeled the bad one, simply for living on their own terms. A woman from Texas wrote, "I cried reading your post. I thought I was the only one. Thank you for speaking up." I wasn't alone, and I knew if even one person needed my story to find the courage to step out, then what I was doing was right. By spring, I no longer felt like anything was missing from my life. Not because I had everything, but because I had learned how to live with enough, on my own terms. One morning in April, I sat at my favorite coffee shop with an unfinished book beside me and a silent phone. I lifted my cup and smiled at myself. I wasn't the Harper who dropped everything to fix a leaky faucet at my mom's house. I was the Harper who now knew that love couldn't be built on one-sided sacrifice. People often say, family is everything, but I believe freedom is everything. When you get to be yourself without needing anyone's permission. And from now on, that's how I'll live. Harper's story is a powerful reminder that sometimes, the people we love the most can also be the source of our deepest pain. She spent a decade sacrificing for her family, her time, her money, and her peace, only to realize she was never truly valued. Her decision to walk away didn't come from selfishness but from awakening. Family love cannot survive without fairness and respect. In real life, we might see ourselves in Harper, always trying to please others, even at the cost of ourselves. But like her, we have every right to step back, to say no, and to choose relationships that see us as human beings, not just providers. Letting go isn't the end. It's the beginning of a life that's truly yours, where you live for yourself, not the role others expect you to play. What do you think of Harper's journey? Have you ever experienced something similar in your own family? Share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to follow the channel for more heartfelt, real-life stories about family and finding yourself.